Hey everyone, welcome to part 3 of Atheist Steve versus Mansour at Speaker's Corner. We're picking up where the last video ended, and we're going to be talking primarily about Muhammad's possible other motivations rather than being a prophet, and also why would Allah supposedly use Muhammad as his vessel to pass on a message to the rest of the world. So I'm just going to dive straight into it and let's see what we get.
Let's deal with the prophet's, his motives. Is he faking to be a prophet, or is he sincerely? You said sincerely. But I want to, just for the sake of comprehensiveness on this matter, there are many people who think he's an imposter. If he was an imposter, people must have a motive why are they pretending to be a prophet. Either is a motive of own selfish motive to be rich, to be wealthy, to be a leader, to be a king, to be the one who has all the benefits and so on. Many things, material gain and desires.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing that I've ever heard from Muslims that have ruled out any of those possibilities. They all seem perfectly logical, perfectly reasonable. If that was what he was going for, if he was actively doing this to deceive, then none of those motivations, I think, can be ruled out.
It could be a motive, but guess what? Every single one of these can be discounted. Look.
Yeah, no, they can't. And you do a really bad job of trying to do that.
They even once said, the polytheist of Mecca, when he started calling people to Islam and to reject the idols, they said, look, what are you after? Do you want money? We will make you the richest person of us.
Yeah, but the point is, he was already married to Khadija at that point, who I'm sure I've seen an article which said that her wealth was so great, she would have been easily a millionaire and possibly even a billionaire by today's standards. Now, I could have that wrong, but she was a very wealthy person. He married into money already. So the idea that he would be bought off just by some token gesture from the polytheists, well, he doesn't immediately need that in the short term. It's a much better idea for him. He's thinking the long-term goal potentially. You know, if I can take over and spread my religion, then rather than whatever paltry offer they're going to make to me, I can make the big bucks once I'm in charge. So this really doesn't work as an apologetic.
Wait, Stephen.
You go on a bit. Let me remember what it is. He could have maybe they want money, they want material things and stuff like that. He was a great guy, yeah. He had an experience.
What was his motive?
He didn't have any motive. He was actually believed in what he was.
That's your position.
He believed.
Well, no, I don't think it's actually Steve's position. I think he's just saying for the sake of argument, look, I'll grant you that he could have genuinely believed in what he believed in, but that doesn't mean that what he believed in was true. But again, I think this motivation of money or power, I think it's absolutely a potential and far more likely than angel in a cave.
Good. I understand that, but I'm not dealing with the opposition yet. I'm simply for the benefit for everyone to know that those people who think he's not sincere, and then the motives that he wants to be rich and wealthy and famous and womanizer, whatever. They even asked once, "Do you want money? We'll make you the richest. Do you want to be our leader? We'll make you the king. Do you want women? Just name them. You can have all of them." He declined all of them. That means...
Well, he had 11 wives.
No. That's a great point from Steve. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, what is the offer of, all the women in the world, supposedly, from the polytheists, when, okay, at the time married to Khadija, but he goes on to marry like 11 different women, and we're not even counting how many, infinite number of sex slaves he might have had. So, concubines, whatever. So, again, all the fact that the polytheists might have tried to sort of, deal with this pest by making these offers, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't have been motivated by the things. It's just what they're offering doesn't really matter that much to him because he's already got wealth and he's already in a position where he is going to get a load of wives anyway. And certainly once you become a leader, that gives you access to all that kind of thing, particularly at that time in history. And particularly with the revelations that Muhammad came out with, allowed him to just have wife after wife after wife and endless sex slaves. So again, the motivation could have been, I'm playing the long game here. And Mansell's got nothing to counter that.
No, this is something later on that people came to him, offered them to become his wife, widows, with orphans.
Yeah, but what do you need a widow for an orphan for? I mean, that doesn't actually sound like much of an offer here. Will you marry? Will you marry my widow and take care of her kids? I mean, to be honest, if you're some leader of a religion, you can get your pick and your perfect choice of who you want to take as your concubine. Why would that be much of an offer to say, oh, will you take this widow and look after her kids? I mean, he doesn't think through the very apologetics he's trying to put out here.
Old women who are divorced or widowed, and they're saying, and they have no one to look after.
Well, most cult leaders nowadays have a lot of wives, no?
See, this is why I love Stephen Mann in this video, because he just cuts through all the crap as well. I mean, what a great line. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. A lot of cult leaders do have multiple wives, multiple women, and sometimes not consenting. It's a classic feature of this cult-like behavior, the Manson cult and all these strange little cults that crop up. Yeah, it's a feature of it. So again, how is this like a convincing apologetic to say, oh yeah, he was offered all these women? It's kind of, well, he can already get all those women.
You're mixing up. We'll talk about his multiple marriages, and you will agree with me that these were not marriages of convenience. These were marriage to make sure that people are looked after, people are brought together as communities, and so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, I'd question that. I mean, look, I'm not brilliant on the history of each of Muhammad's wives, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were going to be like political marriages and stuff like that, to be able to get people on side that he needed to. And some of them, I think, were just because he had lust for them. So, I mean, was it his son-in-law, I think it was, whose wife he married, and he came out of a revelation that Allah came to him a dream and said, I want your wife, kind of thing. Something like that. Apologies if I got that story slightly off, but it was something like that. So it just shows that again, he's trying to ascribe pure motives to Muhammad. He's just trying to take care of people. No, he would have been typically a man of his time, no doubt. That it would have been political marriages and just the women that he wanted to have sex with.
Because his first wife, he married her, was...
Yeah, he married her for money. That was the other motivation.
15 years older than him. And they lived the whole life in this marriage.
Oh, by the way, I mean, I don't want to be totally cynical on that. I mean, it is possible he could have also, loved one or more of these women. I don't want to totally rule that out or try to paint Muhammad as like unusually different from a lot of other kind of people that went on to become despots and big powerful leaders and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, most of his motivations are going to be practical, sexual, or political.
Monogamous marriage until she passed away. Someone older than him, living all her and his life in marriage. This is a direct refutation of this accusation that he was a.
What camera is that for?
Yeah, a direct refutation of people who think he's someone who's interested in children. I'm not going to even use this word. Someone, sexually interested in children. You can.
Right, this is a really odd diversion he takes. Now, he's obviously in reference to Aisha being underage and who's married, and he's... I don't know why he's gone down this route, because Stephen didn't bring it up, why any Muslim apologist would purposely bring this subject up. But, again, this apologetic to say that, because his other wives were adult, the ones we know about, that means this refutes the fact that he would be, pedophile by today's terms. I mean, what's the point in arguing over those, those kind of dictionary definitions or medical definitions? I mean, it's not really the point, is it?
Clearly see that it doesn't follow. Even in any works of psychology, psychiatrists, if you go there, they will tell you that is not a sign of those kind of individuals who are lusting and always interested in sexual relationship with the children.
Oh, so it's all right if he's only interested in that sometimes with children, then. That makes it okay, according to Mansour.
Prophet's life?
Well, he did have sex with a 9-year-old.
Again, Stephen, man, the way he jumps in there and just like completely undercuts everything he's saying.
I am talking about a trait of people who are only interested in sexually in children.
Right. So according to Mansour, as long as you can't be labeled with a specific modern diagnosis of this kind of attraction to children, then that suddenly means, oh, it's fine then that he married an underage bride, not a moral issue. I mean, why would he even walk into this quagmire in the first place? But now he's just sinking hard on this issue, and I just think it's hilarious.
Prepubescent children. There are a group of people called with a P word. I don't want to use this word. There's no point.
Why did you even bring this up, man? You're digging your own grave.
Say that. His life refutes this kind of belief, okay?
It doesn't matter. It's not about what you label him. It's about what he did, and what he did was appalling.
So it was not a material gain that he wanted to be nothing.
Yeah, you have not given any apologetic to show that material gain was not on his mind. And considering when you can track his life, you know, once he gets up to leadership position, he's in charge of the start of an empire. He's got access to all the wealth, all the slaves, all the resources he could ever need. So to say that there was no material benefit on his mind, that's refuted by the evidence, and you've not made anything convincing to persuade me otherwise.
Maybe some kind of thing, oh, he wanted to unite the Arabs. That's why. None of your concern, by the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could have been a political motivation like that as well. It could have been, you know, the Arabs were historically not powerful compared to other regional powers, the Persians, the Romans, and then the Byzantines and other powers, Egypt historically, and places like that. So yeah, that could also be a perfectly reasonable motivation if he had kind of like an Arab nationalism kind of, I want to unite my people kind of thing. That would have been a perfectly understandable motivation as well. And again, you haven't ruled it out. You haven't given any reason for us not to think that might have been a motivation for this whole thing.
For those people, I'll make it short and I'll come to yours. And he was saying, Allah has chosen Maryam above all the women of the world. What would the Arabs say? How are you uniting the Arabs? You're calling a Jewish woman the best woman of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if this was, you talked about Muhammad's Jewish wife, but, you know, lots of leaders take wives who are not, you know, part of their tribe. You know, they take foreign women. I mean, as often that is used as a way to cement alliances with people outside of your group, or often it's because you conquer them and take the spoils of war, so to speak. So again, he thinks that because he had, you know, I think he's talking about his Jewish wife, or you know, that suddenly means that he's got no interest in Arab nationalism. I mean, one does not follow the other.
It's not showing how he's trying to unite, it will disunite it. So it wasn't trying to unite the Arabs for some kind of unity he's claiming to be a prophet. So I will leave there for now. I've given you.
I'll ask you one question for you. Can you talk about it? Yeah? Have you got any doubts at all in what you're saying is true?
No.
None?
None.
Don't you think that's a bit kind of like
no.
worrying? Because then you
do you doubt you exist?
Well, that I exist. Or they say I think, therefore I am.
No, do you doubt?
I don't doubt I exist.
Not even a little bit?
Oh, I exist. I'm here now.
Not even a little bit?
I'm here now.
Good.
They say that could be a
so now, as you realize, there are certain things we can be pretty much confident in what we believe.
Exactly.
Well, from a philosophical point of view, I think that's probably the only thing you can be certain of, is that your own mind exists, you know, if you want to go into solipsism and stuff. But yeah, you can have various grades of confidence in things that you can demonstrate in reality. Your religious claims are not one of those things. They are grounded in nothing but hearsay, as far as I can see. And you provided nothing in terms of Muhammad actually having this visitation from the angel, as we did in the last video. And you've got no reason to be certain about Muhammad's motivations as well. I mean, you've given such spurious arguments to say, oh, the only thing this could have been is he was actually visited by an angel because he's got no other motivations. You've done nothing to make that case.
Your existence, you're pretty much 100% convinced with no room for any doubt. Likewise, Islam has given us this avenue in which our conviction can be so firmly grounded.
Yeah, name one fucking tool that you've got, one real reason other than mummy and daddy brought me up in this religion and I believe it because I'm afraid to go to hell or whatever else. Name one other real reason you've got.
So we talked about how prophet can be not.
Yeah, he just moves on from that. Just makes that claim and then moves on.
Be an imposter or fake individual because there's no motive that you can, describe.
Yeah, that was your claim. You failed to make it. It was appalling.
Maybe, as you said, possibility, he can be sincerely deceived in thinking that there is a creator of the universe who has sent an angel who spoke to him and so on and so forth, right? Now,
let's just always add this in. He could have genuinely had this kind of experience, what he thought was this experience, and he could have just made a mistake. Didn't even need to necessarily be deceived. He just made a mistake.
Address that.
Well, can I tell you the doubts I have?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, apparently, you believe in the Big Bang and stuff like that, yeah? Well,
No, Big Bang is just a model of a universe.
Well, the time scales. God created the universe about 13.8 billion years ago, yeah? And then
Our universe that we know of, according to scientific understanding, is 16.8 or 13 point something, 8 billion years. Yes, correct. Yeah, around that.
9 billion years later, he creates the Earth, yeah? So the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old, yeah? And then he waited another 4.5 billion years, so about 200,000 years ago, to create human beings.
Okay.
Yeah? He maybe gave the ability to talk and communicate, yeah? And have consciousness and learn language and stuff like that. And then he waited another 190,000 years, and then 1,400 years ago, he gave his message to mankind, to a man who can't read and write in a cave. He didn't even know who it was that gave the message. He had to ask a Christian.
No, he knew.
Right, did you hear that? I've stopped it here. He says, Mansour just said at that point, no, Muhammad knew. When he was visited by the angel in the cave, Muhammad knew that it was an angel. Now, not only does that go against the narrative, the standard orthodox Islamic narrative, because the whole point was Muhammad thought it was a demon, not an angel. Not only is it against the narrative, he's contradicting what he said in the last video that I just put up 2 days ago. And for the benefit of those who are watching this and haven't seen that, let me play you that clip.
If there's a case where someone is an imposter, a fake individual, pretending to be what he's not, pretending to be a prophet, we expect he's not going to come and say, I don't know. He would say, a fake prophet would say, yeah, God spoke to me directly, or the angel spoke to me directly, or something. He would be positive in assertion in making up this claim, rather than saying, I don't know who it was. Yeah, a fake, the signs of an imposter is this kind of false confidence. They bring out, they're sure what they're talking about, and so on and so forth. Here is someone who doesn't even know this encounter. Who was it? He's not sure. He's afraid.
So there you go. And this is 5-6 minutes earlier in the video where he's acknowledging the standard narrative. And now he just completely fucking contradicted himself and said, oh no, Muhammad knew when the angel came to the gate. He knew what it was. I mean, this happens all the time in these Dawa videos. They constantly contradict themselves. And because they just talk and talk and talk, it's hard to catch. But this happens throughout. So I'm glad I can point it out for people, because I mean, again, I know my audience is smart enough to know that they do this kind of thing. But it's really nice to have an example like that right in the video. Anyways, we'll carry on.
You just said the Christian, right?
No. The Christian confirmed that don't worry, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
We already know how our Creator sends revelation.
Yes, but Muhammad wouldn't need his Christian friend to tell him that if he already knew. So you've contradicted yourself, you wally.
To individual through this kind of media.
But 400 years ago, he gave it to one man in a cave. Yeah? One man.
Yeah.
And his job is to go and teach it to the whole of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sounds rational to you. That sounds.
Yeah, I'll tell you why it sounds rational.
Again, I love the way that Stephen puts this, man. I mean, it was a great long summary. I mean, it's a shame I had to cut it there, but he did a brilliant long summary, just like from the start of the universe to Muhammad in the cave, and it's like, this really makes sense to you, this story. I mean, it's just a beautiful summary, but let's see how Mansour rationalizes this.
There's various ways of our Creator can communicate to individuals. He can communicate to you directly.
It's one man.
No. I'm just giving you the mechanism.
This is the age of communication. You can talk to anybody on all these cameras.
Stephen.
You can talk to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the point, isn't it? When communication has never been easier, why not now? And actually, I mean, the larger point is, anyway, I mean, if it's Allah, he's all powerful. He could just communicate to everyone at once. Everyone at once, if he really wants this message out there, or certainly provide someone who's a bit more reliable than Muhammad. So yeah, what's Mansour's?
Everybody can hear
The creator of the heavens and the earth can communicate to you. Are you listening?
Yes.
The creator of the heavens and the earth can communicate to every individual directly. That's one way of doing it. He can communicate to
Yeah, so why not do that then? You haven't actually answered that.
people behind the veil without a direct intervention. He can communicate to people in their dreams. He can inspire them. Otherwise,
Yeah, that's a really reliable way to do something, isn't it? I mean, that's not going to be open to interpretation. Let me tell you, in a dream, why would Allah need to do that? If he's got the power, he could just literally talk to everyone on earth instantaneously right now.
he can talk to them directly. The various forms the creator can communicate, because we believe we are communicating, we are able to, understand and make sense of what we say. So our creator,
I mean, he's just babbling now. Again, he's kind of off the script, and he's just trying to buy time, as I pointed out in previous videos. But we'll let this run for a bit longer. It is a bit of a diversion off the original point, but
to him belongs the highest description. It is not reason. It is not unreasonable in any way, shape, or form to think our creator can communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, but he said all that just to say that. That wasn't Stephen's point. It wasn't a questioning whether he can communicate. So what load of babbling nonsense? The point is, why Muhammad? Why, after 13.8 billion years, the way to get a message to humanity is through an illiterate goat herder in a cave who thinks he's being visited by a demon?
Not unreasonable. So, the medium of communication. Why were we created is the first question we need to ask. Did our creator create us for a purpose? And what is the purpose? Because that then determines in what form he's going to communicate to us.
Well, I mean, if the purpose was to play a cosmic joke on us, then yeah, use Muhammad. Because, I mean, it just seems like the worst possible way to deliver a message if there was this creator, which I don't believe there was, but let's say it's a grant that there was, then what are you using this for? That makes Allah sound like a cosmic trickster.
Does he want for us all to be forced to believe in him? Or does he want us to appreciate with our particular makeup of human reasoning, the intellect?
Does he want us all to be convinced? 100%.
Wait. Stephen, let's try to understand something.
Yeah, I mean, Steve makes a good point there. Again, isn't that ultimately Allah's intention? He wants us to worship us. Then show yourself. You'd have your worship.
Does our creator want us to be forced to know that he exists and
what difference does it make?
Believe in him? Because would that make sense? Imagine now.
I mean, none of this makes sense, but you're not really answering any of the questions. You're just babbling.
I put a gun on your head and say, believe that I'm your master. There is no choice involved because you're going to die, right? Do you have a choice? I say, look, you have a choice. There is no choice.
That's exactly what God does to us. Believe I'm your God, or I'm going to burn you in hell.
No.
Christians say that. Muslims say that.
The Creator has said, look, I am.
Yeah, I mean, Steve makes a good point there anyway. I mean, he's not adverse to, forcing the issue of hell. What does it matter whether we got a choice? And at the end of the day, everything's, to Allah's plan. So there isn't really a choice, is there?
The owner of you. I made you, I created you, I gave you life. But
All right, I'm going to stop it there because the rest of the video kind of goes into some topics that I've recently covered in other videos. He starts talking about things like, Allah owns you, therefore you should worship him and all that. And I did a video a couple of months ago about that. I'll put a link in the description where Mansour actually is doing the exact same rhetoric, talking to an ex-Muslim, and he gets absolutely owned. So I'd highly recommend that. It's less than half hour. Just scroll back down through my list. I think it's called Muslim has no reason to believe in Allah is on the thumbnail. And I also did another part of the conversation that goes into, which I did a live stream on with my friend Rob recently, was it goes into this issue of everybody was already kind of religious and monotheistic at the beginning on, and all these messages were sent to all these different places. And they kind of have a conversation about that. As I say, I would address this in this video, but I've done a detailed analysis on that as well in the live stream. So if you want to kind of look at those issues, I'd recommend those two videos. But after they talk about that, we get up to the point where we're at the jinn again, which is what the first segment I did, the very first video. So check that out if you haven't seen it. Yeah, but to summarize this one, I think Stephen did a really good job. Again, just showing the motivations for Muhammad. I think Mansour gave no decent apologetics to whether there was not just a perfectly ordinary material motivation. He gave nothing to dispel that as a possibility, and went off on some weird tangents as well, and just got himself further into the muck. So yeah, once again, thanks to Stephen. I hope you enjoyed this video. This may be the last one. There is about 15 minutes left right at the end of the conversation after he starts talking about finish talking about the jinn, and it goes into things like the moon splitting and prophecies and stuff. I do actually think it's quite funny, and probably is worth a review, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff I want to go into first, other topics, other videos which I've had requests for. So I'm not going to do that now, but I think I'll put a community poll up. If people want me to revisit the last part of that conversation, let me know in the community poll, and you know, if there's a lot of support for it, I'll revisit it maybe in a week or so from now, and we'll do that last part of it. But as things stand, this is the last of a trilogy. Watch the other two if you haven't, because Stephen does a really good job, and I will see you all in the next one.